All right, perfect. All right, so we just finished day 2 of the Wealthy Trustee workshop. We went over the family trust and how to set it up, how to create our trust certificates. So do I have any questions? I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I know that we went through a lot. Some of the stuff was identical to the stuff that we went through on day 1 yesterday when we were setting up the business trust. So that's the beautiful thing about setting up the business trust prior to the family trust, is that everything that's in the family trust is inside of the business trust, but the business trust actually has more in-depth information. So the business trust is 51 pages and the family trust is around 25. So do I have any questions? And I'm going to go through the chat too, but you can come off of mute and ask any questions that you might have. Let's see. Allison said, can we use a Copyright Depot? So I'm not familiar with that. Is that a website? Is it like LegalZoom or something like that?
Yes, it's a website.
Oh, okay. All right. So you want to use that to copyright the name of your trust?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So,
what do you usually use?
So like I mentioned, the trust one is private. So you don't want the name of your trust to be out there.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to copyright it through like the I don't know what they use, the United States, right? They use whatever website that is to do trademark and copywriting. You don't have to do that. Okay. You really don't want anyone to know what the name of your entity is. It's not a thing. So try to conceal the name of the trust as much as possible, and obviously the contents of the trust and the parties involved within the trust. Okay. So just know for your records that it's copywritten under common law, and that's your jurisdiction. Your jurisdiction is common law. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Allison. Thank you. So let's see. Someone said my Facebook membership is still pending, so I will go into Facebook and approve you. What is your, I guess I can find your name on Facebook. And then the next one, can the grantor be a beneficiary? No. The grantor cannot have any beneficial interest in the trust. Zero. Nothing. The grantor cannot have any power or control. So they cannot at all serve as the trustee or the beneficiary. With this type of trust, this is an irrevocable trust, which is the best type of trust to have, okay? Because it's irrevocable, it becomes unpierceable. So even if you end up in court, the judge is not going to pierce through your trust and start going through the contents of your trust and start putting up your assets and all that stuff, because of the type of trust that it is. So if you had another type of trust, which let's just say it's a living trust, then the grantor can be the grantor, the beneficiary, and the trustee, and all these other can serve as all three parties. But with this type of trust, an irrevocable trust, the grantor can only be the grantor. They cannot be any cannot hold any other position within the trust. The trustee, on the other hand, they have power, they have control. The trustee can serve as a beneficiary as well. So the trustee can be the trustee and the beneficiary, but they cannot be the sole beneficiary. So there has to be other beneficiaries. It can't be that they're the only beneficiary, okay? Because then they wouldn't be able to operate the trust. They would have to resign as a trustee if that were the case. Do I have any other questions? So you guys can come off of mute. You can raise your hand. You can put it in the chat. Next question, how does a business trust get an EIN? That's a great question. So we are going to apply for the EIN. We're going to apply for our first EIN tomorrow, which is going to be for the ministry trust. And then On Thursday, we're going to apply for the business trust and establish business credit. And then on Friday, we're going to apply for the EIN for the private family trust. So with that being said, we're going to get to that. But how is by going to the irs.gov website and doing an EIN application. And when they ask you what type of structure you put trust, then they're going to ask you all of the other questions, meaning who's the trustee, what's the name of the trust, what's the address, do you plan on having employees, you answer everything correctly, and then you submit your application and you receive an EIN instantly. So it usually takes about 8 minutes, and we're going to do that together. Next question is, where do you suggest keeping these documents? Karen, that is a really good question. So two things that's coming up here. One, when you are setting up your trust, when you're getting it notarized, please notarize 2 copies, 2 original copies, okay, of your trust. Just in case something happens to one of your copies, you have a backup. These 2 original copies, you're going to keep it in 2 separate locations. So one of them you can keep in, let's just say, a safety deposit box, or you can keep it at a co-trustee's, house, or, somewhere safe, right? And then the other one, you're going to keep it with you. And so you're operating this trust, right? And you have to think about natural disasters, right? We have tornadoes, we have hurricanes, earthquakes. So you do not want your trust to get destroyed, because then at that point, you won't be able to operate your trust. You would have to create a new trust. So with that being said, you want to keep it safe. So what I recommend is, one, that you purchase a binder. We have specific types of binders that I recommend. And I'll have my assistant send it to you guys. But you're going to purchase a binder, and with that binder, there are different dividers or sections within the binder. So the first section is going to be your indenture, okay? So you're actually going to put your entire trust in here. So all 51 pages is going to go into section 1. Section 2 is going to be your board meetings. So every time you do a board meeting, you want to print it out, you want to sign it, you want to put it inside of your record book, okay? The next section is going to be your contracts. So that's going to be not your contracts, but your deeds and your titles, okay? So anything pertaining to ownership, anything pertaining to any properties, any assets, stock, certificates, anything, that's going to go in section 3. Section 4 is going to be your contracts. So that is going to be all your promissory notes from every single loan that you've dispersed and received from the trust. It's going to be also any loans that you binded the trust to, meaning if you got a personal loan from Bank of America under the trust, that's going to be in there. So any type of contracts, right? Let's just say you purchase a house, you have a mortgage agreement, it's going to go in there. Same thing with a car, any type of contracts. Then the next section is going to be your expenses. Okay, so anything dealing with any financial responsibility pertaining to the trust estate. So what we mean by that is, I have this property on Main Street. It's owned by the trust. The trust has to pay everything associated with this property, meaning maintenance, taxes, utilities, mortgage, property management fees, anything dealing with that. All of those documents, receipts, bills are going to go in the last section of the binder. Okay. So that is how you should be keeping diligent record keeping for your trust. The next question is, where should my trust address be? That's a good question. So, you have to choose a state, right? So usually we choose the state where we live, and you don't want it to be where you are associated. So what you would do is you would use a virtual address. So you could sign up with iPostal, and you could sign up with iPostal. You can get a virtual address in your city or in your state, and you can use that as the trust address. Okay. So that's one thing that you can do. If you wanted to, you could also use a PO box. And the last option is to use your personal address where you live. But I don't recommend that to anyone, just because of the association. That personal address is already tied to you, your personal name, your spouse, your children. And so now that you're going to be associating your trust with that address, it's going to automatically, like within the records, it's going to automatically associate that trust with you. You don't want that. So that's why you want the trust to have its own distinct address. Next question is, so in addition to having the 2 copies and the binder, would you recommend keeping a scanned copy in case of a natural disaster? I definitely recommend having an electronic version of your trust. Yes, definitely. 1000%. That was phenomenal. Thank you, Karen. So yes, I personally have an electronic copy, and I know a lot of my students also have an electronic copy of. I've assisted them with that. So yes. Next question is, what steps should you take if to correct or rectify the business trust that you've started and have obtained the EIN, although you do not have a business yet, and have notarized a virtual address for the business trust? What steps should you take if to correct or rectify the business trust that you've started and have obtained an EIN, although you do not have the business yet, and have notarized a virtual address for the business trust? This is a loaded question, Jen, and I'm really trying to understand it. Do you want to come off of mute? Are you able to? Maybe not.
Yes, I can come off of mute. Let me turn
Okay,
this down.
I'm so sorry. There's a lot of moving parts into your question here.
Yeah, I think my typo, if you take out the word if in the beginning, it would make sense. So in essence, I just learned last night that if you do not have a business, you should not obtain the EIN. I have obtained the EIN because I thought that that's what I should do. Although I do not have a business trust, or I'm sorry, I do not have a business. So I guess another way of asking is, how do I fix that? How do I rectify that? How do I correct that? I've already have an EIN for a business trust, but I do not have a business. So
Okay,
what should
Jen.
I do?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that question. So, what do you plan on using the entity for?
For any future businesses.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
to say today, I do not have, it's not formalized, it's not formed, but it's in the process of being a business.
Okay, so you have a business. So you
I do.
created the trust and you applied for the EIN, correct?
Correct.
And all you have to do is get it notarized.
Just so you know, it's not finalized, but yes, it's being created.
Okay, so all you have to do is get it notarized, and then you are good to go.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to dissolve it. You don't have to. So
Okay.
if you want to surrender the EIN, then you have to submit paperwork to the IRS saying that you're going to dissolve the entity, because they're presuming that the entity already exists. So
Okay.
the only thing that you have to do, if you have the intentions on getting it notarized, get it notarized. And even though you don't have a business, you can use it for other things. You can use it to hold assets.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
also use it to build credit. So
Okay.
that
Great.
you can have a second profile, a second credit profile that you can leverage outside of your personal credit. Business credit is better than personal credit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you never form a business, you can use that entity for the sole purpose of creating business credit.
Okay, great. This is good to hear because I thought, oh my goodness, do I need to start over? Can I
No.
keep it? Can I keep the EIN and use it for another purpose, even though I don't have a business yet? Okay, that's what I hear you're saying.
Yes, that is. Yeah, yeah. And it's okay that a lot of people, they will create a business and then they won't start really using it until a
Mm-hmm.
year or two later. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's okay if you want to, have that jump start and start building the business credit prior to you even knowing what type of business you're going to run in the future. You can do
Ah,
that.
perfect. Okay. And I still, like you said, can add assets into
Yeah.
that business
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So for example, let's just say you had a car and you had a house and you didn't want to put them in the same trust, then you can put the car in the business trust and you can put the house in the family trust.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I could barely sleep last night thinking, oh no.
Yes, you're definitely
Uh,
heading in the right direction, Den. So and you let me know like what assistance you need moving forward. And what I was going to say was at the end of the day, the business trust is still a trust, right?
mhm.
And so you can still use it as a trust, even though it's designed to hold other entities. You can still use it for asset protection. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. You are the best, Christina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Appreciate
appreciate you. Yes, I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
it. Take care.
Let's see. Nancy has a question. So, what are your thoughts on using a registered agent? I love registered agents. So, some of these virtual address companies, they will serve as your your registered agent, I'm sorry. And that's always a good option because if you don't, then who's going to be the registered agent, right? So the registered agent is the person who receives the correspondence for the entity. Usually that's the trustee. So then you have to disclose that you're the trustee. So if you use a registered agent, then that could be a third party and an opportunity for you not to list yourself. So that is definitely a good place to go. I know of a company that they provide RA services, very affordable. It's called Skillful Advisor, and they will provide it all through the country. So it's fairly affordable on an annual basis. So let's see. The next question is, when you apply for the EIN, or do we need to file any documents like a deed or a title? Can we use the initials of our trust? So when you're applying for an EIN, you have to put the entire name of the trust. Or are you asking, can you use your personal initials to name the trust? So if you're applying for an EIN, you have to put the entire name of the trust. So if you name the trust, Loving Business Trust, then you have to put those 3 words. You can't just put LBT. Okay. Can you use your initials to name the trust? Yes. So if your initials is, LLP, then you can name it LLP Trust, LLP Family Legacy, LLP Holdings. You can use your initials. That's always a good thing if you're finding it difficult to name your trust. And then the part of your question about the deed or title, you have to always list the full entity name, okay? No abbreviations. So for the quitclaim deed, you're going to put your name on there, and you're going to sign and you're deeding it over to the trust, you put the entire name of the trust. No shortenings or abbreviations, the entire name of the trust. Next is, let's see, I'm losing track here. Which trust uses the whole life insurance policy? Oh, that's such a good question. So your insurance policy is an asset, and it's going to be owned by the trust. And the trust that you want it to be owned by is your private family trust. You have to think about it this way. The business trust is out here doing business. It's liable to be sued. The business trust is out here building business credit. So it's going to start establishing a profile and be searched in the public records, right? And a business trust is used as a holding company. Then you have the ministry trust, right? The ministry trust, the beneficiaries have to be other entities. So your private family trust is one, it's going to always remain private, and two, your beneficiaries are your children. So when the time comes, when you transition, that death benefit is going to go to the trust, which ultimately goes to your children directly. So that's why you want to use the private family trust for the ownership and beneficiary of your policy. Next question is, if you move abroad, will the trust work the same way, or do they need to be set up in the US initially? So it depends on where you move, okay? Wherever you move, they have laws, they have jurisdictions, they have different, different statutes and codes and things like that. So you have to find out where you're moving to. It depends, right? You have US territories, and so it'll be okay. Like right now, I'm actually setting up a trust because I have a piece of land that was an inheritance in Puerto Rico. And so I have to put it under a trust, and there's 15 beneficiaries. So, but our trust that we have can be utilized in, it's abroad, it's a US territory. But so it depends on where you're moving to, okay? If not, then you want to utilize an international trust, or sometimes we call it like a foreign trust or a foreign grantor trust. And with that trust, typically you have created it outside of the US. So you've used a address that's outside of the US, like, Africa, Europe, Canada, things like that. Do I have any other questions? Anybody wants to come off of mute, ask their question, raise their hand, put it in the chat. Any other questions for this evening? So tomorrow we are going to be setting up our ministry trust. I'm super excited, right? The ministry trust is actually the longest trust that we're going to be setting up, okay? It's 59 pages, and we're going to go through the trust constitution. We're going to go through the bylaws for the ministry. We're going to go through the declaration, which is phenomenal. And then after we're setting up our ministry trust, then we are going to become ordained ministers, okay? So I'm going to show you that entire process so that you are actually a minister of your ministry trust. Congratulations. And then after that, we are going to apply for our EIN for our tax exempt organization. So another name that we use interchangeably for the ministry trust is faith-based organization, and you'll see that tomorrow. And with that being said, when we're applying for our tax exempt status, we apply as a tax exempt organization. So we will be going through that process tomorrow, okay? So that is what we have planned for you all. So I do have homework. I did put the Facebook group, and I know a couple people said that they were waiting to be approved. So I am going to go straight to the Facebook page after I'm done with this so that I can go approve you guys. And so we do have homework for tonight. So our homework for tonight is to go into the Facebook community and to actually drop a video letting everybody know why you decided to establish a trust and become a trustee. So we are eager to know, you know, why you decided to take this journey with us and become a trustee and empower yourself and decide to build generational wealth the right way and protect your assets. So so go ahead and get into the Facebook group and do that homework, right? We want to hold you accountable. So let's see, this one said I did not receive the recordings either. So the so we are recording, and the recording is going to be uploaded unlisted to YouTube, and then you are going to receive a link. So please check your spam folder if it didn't come directly to your inbox. My assistant, she's going to send out the recordings, you know, as soon as possible, and we will go from there. So I'm so excited. We just completed day 2 of the Wealthy Trustee Workshop. Woo! So yesterday we set up our business trust. Today we set up our private family trust. Tomorrow we're setting up our ministry trust. Congratulations, you guys. Like, I'm just super excited for everyone that is here on the call. Let's see, how long do we have access to the recordings? So the recordings are for 90 days. And then you have lifetime access to the course. Okay, so the online portal, you have lifetime access to it. The recordings are for 90 days. And then if you miss a workshop day, you can make it up and you can attend a future workshop. Okay, so if you're not able to make it Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, then when we have our workshops in September, you can attend any and all of those, okay? Karen said, awesome, awesome. So we are complete for this evening. You guys be blessed. I will see you again here on Zoom tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be becoming ordained ministers and setting up our ministry trust, which is our 5